Welcome to the B&B in Dubai podcast, a podcast about building your Airbnb business in Dubai and beyond. Today I have two very special guests, two business partners who started their company exactly a year ago. We have Pranay and Hreshan. Welcome. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Redeet.
You guys joined exactly 1 year ago today. So first of all, congratulations with this milestone.
Thank you.
And second, I'd like to ask, when did you take the decision to start with your Airbnb business and why?
Yeah, I think I could go first. So it was around March of 2024. I was still working as an investment banker, and I came across this idea through just networking in Dubai. I was speaking to a lot of friends, and when I understood that some of the two fastest growing industries in Dubai are real estate and tourism. This business model allows us to capitalize on both those fast-growing industries, which is why I thought it would be an interesting idea to look into.
Mm-hmm.
And without even mentioning it to Pranay, he was simultaneously thinking about the same idea as well, since he's been into real estate for the last few years. And we thought it was the perfect synergy, just combining finance and real estate to make this something big in a city like Dubai.
Makes sense. I'm going to ask you more about the partnership in a bit. But what's your view on the start?
Yeah, so basically, like in US, I had a startup. It was called Nobi. Hreshan also worked over there,
So you collaborated?
yeah, we worked together over
cool.
there as well. Yeah, and so we had a client who was into this business in the US, which was a rental arbitrage, and my company helped him acquire almost 50 properties across Boston. So while helping him acquire the properties, we got to learn a lot about like his business, how he was operating it. And, when I saw his cash flow statements, because I had to submit it to the landlords, I was like, okay, this is definitely a good business to get into. So I was always interested in it. And yeah, same as Hreshan, I knew that Dubai has like a fast growing real estate market and tourism market. And I also grew up over here. So I have like that little bit of affinity that I always wanted to do some work over here. So, we were both simultaneously like thinking about it. And one day we just met as a group of friends, and Hreshan just mentioned, I'm thinking about starting this. And I thought about it. And the next day I give him a phone call. I'm like, bro, you won't believe it. I've been thinking about it as well. Why don't we do this together? And he's like, and that's how basically it started.
That's amazing. What a nice story. What a coincidence.
This
also,
actually ties back. Pranay and I have known each other since high school. We went to the same high school in Mumbai, and then we studied in Boston together as well, worked at the same company. So I think this partnership emulates a lot of trust.
Yeah.
We know each other for a long time. We understand how each other work.
Yeah.
We've been doing homework, since as kids, which is why we work well together.
Cool. Into the business. 18 units in right now. So you have 18 apartments currently, right? And I think, Hreshan, you told me you're going to start a few new ones. Will go live in the next few days, weeks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So can you tell me a bit about what does the business model look like? What do you exactly do? I mean, you have 18 Airbnbs, but how does it work? You own them, you rent them. What is the model you work in?
Right. So it's a combination between two business models. One is obviously the rental arbitrage that's in Dubai. And the second one is the revenue share model. So about 70% of our portfolio, to be exact, around 13 or 14 properties are currently on revenue share with landlords.
Yeah.
And we've rented and subleased 5 units so far.
So this is interesting because most new hosts right now, mostly in the B&B in Dubai community, they do mostly subleasing, right? For you guys, it's the other way around. So a quick recap, subleasing is where you lease a unit for a year or longer, and then you sublease it by listing it on Airbnb, Booking.com and other platforms, and you make a profit on the margin. Whereas revenue sharing is where you take a unit and you manage it for the owner for a commission. So the owner pays you a commission of the revenue, but the largest sum is for the owner. You guys work mostly on the second model where you do revenue sharing. Why was that decision made? Because obviously finance, you have a finance background, so you made some proper calculations, right? Why did you choose to do revenue sharing mostly?
Yeah, I think firstly, it's a risk-free strategy. You don't have any direct costs associated with revenue share units. apart from obviously your management softwares and the different kinds of technology you use. But that's something that's deducted from the company-wide statement, right? Revenue share in our first year, the idea behind it was to try and reach every location in Dubai, any hotspot location. So that ranges from downtown to Marina, Business Bay, JBR, the Palm. So we luckily did have the opportunity to leverage our network and manage units on a revenue share model. It allowed us to tap into different areas in Dubai, which I thought was important for us in our first year to see which area is really yielding us the best return.
Okay, so your strategy was I want a unit here, a unit there, a unit there. So in different areas, parts of Dubai, and based on that, take a decision where do I want to scale.
Exactly. And
Makes
then
sense.
once we find the location, once we find the right combination of pricing and occupancy, once we understand which area suits us the best, that's where we would sublease more apartments so we can focus our efforts into one specific area as well.
Understood. And Pranay, before you started, the two of you started actually getting the units, what was the market research you did back then? Because obviously you do trial and error now. You did it, like a few units here, a few there. But what was the information you had before starting and how did you get it?
Yeah, so I mean, we had a couple of different sources. So we had a couple of friends in the industry.
Yeah.
So, we had some conversations with them to understand like the basics of the industry. We landed up joining your school community, which did definitely help give a lot of resources. And then a lot of it was direct market research in the sense of using different softwares like AirDNA to understand different type of revenue estimations, using DXP Interact to understand what are the prices that are currently going, and then using a mix of all of these three, talking to other hosts. That is how we were able to start the entire journey. So we actually did spend a lot of time on R&D before just getting into it. And the main reason for that is, as Hreshan mentioned, he's into finance. I'm into real estate, but I'm also a numbers guy like him. So, numbers are very important for us. So if the numbers make sense, then it makes sense to go ahead.
Yeah.
Right. So that was very important for us to first know whether it makes sense. And that's kind of how we got the start.
That's a very good point. I mean, we talk often either on the Q&As that we have or on events, etc. And we continuously keep talking about numbers, and people sometimes take in decisions just purely based on their gut feeling, like a business decision. Let me get a unit and just furnish it and see where it goes, right? Wrong. We all know we know that.
Yeah.
So you had a proper business case, a sheet. Both of you discussed it, and based on that, you took a decision. Let me take a unit here and there, right? That's how it went.
Yeah, we pretty much had a shared Excel that we both kept working on in those initial months before we decided to, get the trade license and everything.
Yeah.
And what we really did with this Excel was forecast a cash flow, just to understand, okay, if we have to rent out, let's say, X number of units with Y number of checks, what is our cash flow going to look like? What is our return going to look like? And only once the ROI made sense at the end of the day, and once we felt confident enough, that's when we really decided to push the green button.
Yeah, understood. And then, look, an Excel sheet is very easy to manipulate.
Yeah.
We all know
Yeah,
that.
yeah, of
So
course.
you can like make $10 million next year in an
yeah.
Excel sheet. My question is, you guys are 18 units in and more to come very soon. When you started, like, did the Excel sheet show 18 units in 12 months? Did it show more or less?
So honestly, when we started, our initial goal was to reach 10 units in 1 year.
Yeah.
That was like our goal. And we landed up reaching 10 units by the time we hit December. So like just half a year in,
Nice.
we've already at our 1 year goal. So
Super nice.
definitely went faster than we expected, but I think it's a mix of couple of factors that definitely helped us. We are very lucky to reach like the level that we are at. Obviously, we've put in a lot of work, and our work has also helped us get there. But for example, definitely we had our network, which was the lowest hanging fruit. But then, we did a couple of different things, like, the way that we reached out to landlords. And we actually landed up having landlords reach out to us because of the way we were advertising our name
Yeah.
within specific buildings and
Yeah.
trying to penetrate those buildings.
Yeah.
So, landlords started reaching out to us because they were seeing, our unit was always showing up on the first page as like one of the first few results
Airbnb, you mean?
of Airbnb,
Yeah.
and then like when we showed them our numbers, we were outperforming a lot of the other competitors.
Yeah.
So that's when, and then obviously when we met them, they're like, okay, these are young guys.
Yeah.
They have a fire and a passion for the business. So then, that's kind of helped us get to where we are.
Yeah. Cool. Super nice. How old are you guys, by the way?
24.
24?
Yeah, we turned 25 this year.
Man, that's amazing. That must be like very motivating for people watching this podcast, because running a business like this when you're 24, 25, that's impressive. Well done,
Thank you.
guys, so far.
Yeah, cheers, thanks.
So, a bit about co-founder dynamics, right? Because you decided to start this journey together.
Yeah.
Which is could be a very good decision for me. For in this business, I work fully by myself, and I've had this conversation with other community members as well who have a business partner, and they tell me, Redeet, I mean, how are you able to do it by yourself? It's way more fun also if you do it with a partner, which I can understand, right? But I want to understand, like, what is your motivation? Why do you work together and not alone by yourself?
Yeah. So I'll just start off and then you can add on. But I think it's like the synergies that come in, right? So this is obviously our big business, but we also have like other aspects that both of us are individually working on. So, by working together, we are able to fill in the gaps for each other wherever someone is not able to. So, more recently, for example, I've had to be in Mumbai more, but Hreshan's been living in Dubai.
Yeah.
So because of that, we've been able to complement each other and work together to ensure at the end of it, the company can never suffer.
Yeah.
And, in the future, maybe Hreshan has more work that he has to do somewhere else and that he has to give focus to that.
Yeah.
So then I'll be able to step in and take over. Or, if one person's traveling, the other person will come to Dubai, especially around the times you're getting new units.
Yeah.
And then I think it's also definitely it is a pro and a con working with people, but just depends on how you work together, right?
Definitely.
Like we were lucky that like we've known each other for so long. And it's not only that we've known each other, because knowing each other once again can be an issue, but we've also worked together before. So, we've kind of got an understanding of each other's work dynamics, how the other person works and how to push each other, to actually achieve better instead of just banging heads.
Yeah, that's very important. And what about you, Hreshan?
Yeah, I think it also really helps with the decision making. Obviously, like you mentioned, we're very young, and experience is something that's very crucial in a fast-paced industry such as this one. So I think when we have big decisions to make, whether it's subleasing a unit or whether it's even accepting or rejecting a new revenue share deal, it's nice to know that you have someone else to play that devil's advocate.
Yeah.
So that we just make sure that the decisions that we're making are very calculated.
Yeah. You don't get blinded and have tunnel vision, basically.
Yeah, there's no bias involved. There's always another party that can just question the decisions that you're going to go ahead with. So I think that's something that I find very effective in a business like this. You share the profits and you also share the spoils.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, it's you might get like half the cake, but the cake can be 3 times as large, right? So if you collaborate.
Exactly.
So that's definitely could be a big plus. So what would be, if you have to like name one thing that you admire in how Pranay works, what would it be? Like, what is his absolute top quality?
I would say he's
Putting you a bit on the spot right now, I know.
Yeah, I think I think he's very motivated.
Yeah.
Pranay is someone who's obsessed with being busy.
Yeah.
And I think whether it's something as small that needs to get done or something that's a lot bigger, I think he would always find a way to do it.
Yeah.
And I think that can only happen when someone's intrinsically very motivated.
Yeah.
And that energy and that motivation also gets translated to not only me but the rest of our team.
We'll get to
And,
that.
yeah,
as
that's
well.
what that's what I really like about having a partner like Pranay. And
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice words. Obviously, I'm going to ask you the same question. What about Hreshan?
Yeah. So I'd say for Ishan, like his growth orientation, I think that's been very important in like our growth till this particular level. Because, you know, without having to push him, he's already looking at, you know, how do we better our marketing? How do we like, you know, start looking at more units, like, you know, looking at the deals in the industry.
Yeah.
Future employee expansion. So like that growth mindset, definitely, I'd say.
Makes sense. So you're kind of the hustler, so to say, and you're the strategist. If I don't know if that's the I'm putting one word on a few words as well, but cool. And what about one thing that you don't like about how the other person works?
It's honestly something that I don't like, but it's not really in his control. Is I just you know, obviously he has his primary business is in Mumbai, and it can get challenging when he cannot make it to Dubai, right? Obviously, if I feel like if we both were in Dubai, we could have grown a lot faster. Maybe we couldn't have. I mean, it happens, you know, and that's something that you can't really control.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you know, as long as the company is doing well, that's what really matters.
Yeah.
So
Definitely. I mean, you know these things up front, and although you just came in right now from the airport, right? So it must be said as well. You didn't even like go home or whatever.
Yeah.
And just right from the airplane, right to this podcast, which is very much appreciated. So
Yeah.
I mean, I'm asking this question because I think like honesty is very important and transparency is very important.
course.
Yeah,
in,
for
in,
sure.
in a partnership. And what about the other way around? What is something that you would like want to change about Hreshan?
I wouldn't necessarily say change. I like this is not necessarily a weakness either, but it is like something that can affect, and then that is like where, you know, the balancing act comes as partners. Is whereas talking about the growth mindset can also sometimes be excitement to just, you know, push ahead. But that is where, you know, that's where, you know, the consultation between the two of us can get that best decision. So like, you know, that is one thing I appreciate the most about him, which is that, you know, he always wants to go ahead and go ahead with it.
Yeah.
And then like I can act like as a stabilizer, because like, you know, sometimes not like chasing every single rabbit, you know, means that you won't achieve everything, you know, and you'll kind of get lost in the middle. So then I think that's what is good and bad, but then that's where the partnership comes in.
That's very well said, because like a strength and a weakness, they come very close, right? So if you only like without your growth mindset and let's get there, you will never get there. But also with only the growth mindset and no like realism, you also not get there, because you will chase all the rats basically, like the rabbits, like you said.
it puts you in a similar position as well, you know, when you were expanding. I think you mentioned earlier that now you've reached a stage where you want to stabilize. So I think, you know, in terms of that as well, it's just, it reflects in other businesses as well, where you want to grow, but at the same time, it's also very important to focus on your operations and making sure everything is streamlined.
Yeah. I mean, it's very healthy to do that, and not only focus on growth, but also not only focus on operations and here and now. The balance is what keeps you growing on the long run. So it seems like you guys figured that out. How do you like work together in a sense of like who does what? What is the division of responsibility, if there is any, or is it just like you both do everything depending on the day of the week or who is busy and who's not busy?
Yeah, I think that's a good question to ask. At the moment, we both kind of oversee the whole company's operations. Obviously, me being in Dubai puts me a bit more front end facing. So when it comes to, let's say, networking with landlords, or maybe even networking with agents for that matter, dealing with guests or guest complaints, right? That's where I would step in most of the time. And at the same time, I think Pranay is also very focused on the back end operations when it comes to, let's say, pricing, or let's say, you know, managing on something on our PMS, which is our property management software.
Back end, front end, so back of the house, front of the house.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
Yeah,
you can say.
for now. Yeah, makes sense. Because by the time the podcast will be uploaded, you probably have more than 20 units, right? So
Hopefully,
most likely. How is your team structured? Because there's the two of you, but obviously you don't like host 20 Airbnbs. all by yourself, or even if two of you, that doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
So you need to have people employed, or how does it work? Like, who do you have? How large is your team, and what do they do?
Yeah. So, I mean, so we have a mix of contract workers as well as like full-time people working with us. So we have two guest relation managers who are based in Dubai. One is more of a back end where she's managing most of the conversations. One is more of a front end where like he has to go to MR buildings for check-ins, or like, just go check on each apartment after it's done to make sure, after the cleaning is done rather, to make sure that everything is fine. If there are any guest issues, he's kind of like a person to be like more of a runner type, if that's probably not the best word, but like just to be in that location.
Yes.
On top of the guest communication that he does. We have a VA from from Philippines, who does more of the early morning and night shifts. And then we also work with quite a few contract people. So like we have someone who does guest check-ins. So let's say if like a guest is checking in at like 9 or 10 p.m. at night, or even post that, or on holidays where our people are taking a break, we would pay him for that one check-in.
For one specific check-in,
just
you
for
pay this one person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it just gives us that flexibility that in case, maybe he, like our employee is sick or whatever the reason may be, he has that ability, or we still have the ability to get that guest checked in.
Yeah.
We now have a full-time maintenance person who's someone we just hired, because honestly, on pretty much every day there is some maintenance issue
Something
that
breaks
comes
down,
up.
you need to fix
Yeah.
it, and the AC at 2 a.m., for example, that any of the things that can happen will happen definitely. So you have a full-time maintenance employee. So two guest relation officers, managers, one VA, and one full-time maintenance.
Yeah.
And then a contractor who does some of the check-ins.
Some of the check-ins. And we now work with someone for our marketing.
Yes.
So, they manage the entire social media side. We also now work with the pricing team, which we've just started working with. This is actually a recommendation from Berkthor. It's a person that he is using as well. So we wanted to get into it and see how they manage the pricing. And the main reason is because in Dubai, the price is always there. It's just whether you're priced at the right price at the right time to get that. Get that price, right?
Exactly.
Because let's say a guest is willing to pay 1,200 dirhams, your price at 1,300 dirhams. They won't choose your apartment, and then 3 days later, you're going to have to settle for 800 dirhams.
Exactly.
So, I think that was something that we want to see. Definitely right now, it's like more of the trial period. So far, it's been good. And we want to see how that goes into the peak season, and hopefully it will help us boost our revenues as well.
That's a very interesting topic, because up until now, I mean, I have 80 units. I manage pricing myself. So I have the rules set up, and I'm the one doing the revenue management, because it's called revenue management, right? In my company. But last week I had Siddhant here. And for the great podcast. Also very successful in his first year, just like you guys. And he does also, he also hired a pricing specialist. What made you guys decide, even though you have like a finance background, right? So you're both numbers guys. Why not do it yourself? I mean, there's no right or wrong, but why?
Yeah, I think it's more about them having access to this whole industry's pricing data, right? Like, for sure, they've they do our pricing, but they also price other hosts' properties as well. That gives them a competitive advantage of knowing what prices certain apartments can get priced at and at what specific time. So them having that knowledge,
more information,
exactly. I think that gives them the advantage of pricing the units exactly what it's supposed to be and when. Moreover, I think, we just started with them. We wanted to see where this really goes. And I mean, this peak season is going to be super interesting. And I think we made this decision together because after one full year, I think, we're still experimenting with a lot of things. And I think now that we've brought them on exactly after 1 year, it's going to be super interesting to see what difference it's going to make in terms of RevPAR, for example.
And just to add on to that, I think there are two main instances, at least from my end, what made me want to try them out was, number one was December and second was March. Or
me
rather,
about
sorry, first was December and second was April.
April, okay.
So basically, December, we came in price very high because, first year expecting the market to be as good as it was the last year prior to that. And then December was terrible, like the start of December. And definitely December picked up very, very well towards the second half. And, we did excellently in the month, but definitely we did suffer a little bit in the start of the month. And then April was, after March was a very low month. I think everyone in the industry suffered.
Ramadan, right?
And,
So, yeah.
and we came in expecting definitely April will be better. We didn't expect it to be so much better. So, the reason why we wanted them to come is a lot of our softwares tell us what a unit is priced at. It doesn't tell us what a unit gets booked at. So for us having like 17, 18 apartments, we have maybe 3 or 4 apartments in one particular area. So we're only getting like, those 3 or 4 touch points for that one particular area and seeing what they're getting booked at.
Yeah.
Versus these guys, they are managing over maybe 2, 3, or maybe even 400 units at this point in Dubai. So they're getting multiple touch points of what the units are actually getting booked at and that customer sentiment, so that, we are able to price for the future. Because definitely Dubai is a very last minute market, but it's not only a last minute market. Like if you depend on that, there are going to be days that you're going to have vacancies or you're not going to get the price that you want. So ideally, the reason we wanted to get them in more than anything was to secure further out bookings, but at the right price. Not only about securing further out bookings, so.
Makes sense. And all of that based on data, right?
Exactly,
So they have
based
more
on
data,
data.
and therefore are going to be able to price more optimally. Makes sense. Especially since you guys have units in different locations, right? So because for me, I have like, let's say 90% of my units in 2 or 3 buildings.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of data about the pricing in those buildings. So it makes already a big difference versus how you guys work. It makes a lot of sense. I might actually try Revenue Manager out as well. What I also want to touch upon is the growth of the market right now in Dubai, the Airbnb market. Do you guys think Airbnb is saturated in Dubai?
Yes and no. So I think this comes down a lot to the fact that it's not easy. I think is a big part of it. Most people think that it's easy when they are entering. So in terms of saturation, I think Dubai is going to continuously grow with tourists. If you do Airbnb the right way, there is definitely scope to make money, but you need to do a lot of things right. It starts from the very first part, which is choosing the building, choosing the view, choosing your furniture, choosing your pictures, your pricing, your title, description, etc. But your very basic, it starts with what price you pick it up at, right? Because
So
you
your
win,
rent, you
you
mean?
win at your rent. Like whatever deal you close, you win at the price that you rent it. So I think right now there are a lot of people who are very excited to come in. And like because of that, they're just coming and overbidding on these 1, 2, 3 buildings that, everyone just wants to be in because they've seen they've seen Berkthor, or they've seen other people who've like done successfully in that particular building.
Yeah.
So they come in and then they just come like, they're like, okay, I'll pay 25,000 extra and I'll do only 1 check.
Yeah.
So
which is not smart, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in terms of saturation, yes, now there are a lot of players, so it is more competitive. But if you do things the right way, you can definitely do well in the industry, but you have to do it all right.
I couldn't have said it better. Makes a lot of sense. Right? You can still make quite some money in this business, but you have to get it all right. If not, forget about it. Right? So
Yeah, I think even social media, in today's world, it plays a big influence on this industry. And I think what we've seen in the last couple of years is a lot of new hosts entering Dubai. That being said, this industry, relatively in comparison to other industries, does have lower barriers to entry.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what makes everyone think that they can start and do this business. I think this has a direct correlation to Dubai's long-term rental market as well, especially in these hotspot locations like downtown, for example. you're seeing these newer hosts, settle for ridiculous prices when it comes to long-term rent.
Yeah.
And that has an effect on the agents and the brokers working in those buildings, because they're going to think that, okay, if these guys are not going to settle for a lower price, someone else is going to get it at a higher price.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's having a whole chain reaction at the moment. And even though, we know that a lot of supply is coming into Dubai's market in the next couple of years, prime areas and buildings in downtown may not lose that rental price that they're currently, renting at. So there are a lot of.
You think these prices will stay? Because you're
I hope
absolutely
they
right.
don't.
You're absolutely right. Like in these few key buildings
Yeah.
that that are known, that might have been posted about. The prices have been like shooting up, right? Ridiculous, 20 or 30% more than at least than what they should be based on the actual value.
And that eats up your arbitrage, right? That 20-30%.
It does.
So arbitrage.
That's why I don't sign those deals, right? And neither do you guys.
Yeah.
And that's why you're building a successful business on the long run. But you do think that like this will stay in these buildings? Your idea for the future, your assumption is, okay, the prices won't come down, even though other prices, long-term rent prices in other areas will come down. Those buildings will stay high. That's what you're saying?
So I don't think it's going to come down immediately, like in the sense, how the long-term rental market fluctuates in a year. In the summer, prices are lower. In the peak season, it goes higher, right? I do think that once all the supply, let's say by 2027, I think that's the year where a lot of Dubai's supply is expected to come in. When there's a lot of supply in the market, that reduces prices, right, eventually. So I do potentially think that at that time, in 2 years, the price will be relatively lower compared to what it should be in 2027. But at the same time, there's so many pros and cons that it's an argument that can like go on for days. I mean, we generally hope that the long-term rental rates do come down a bit. But at the same time, you have to also think about the purchase price. The way Dubai's real estate market is growing so quickly, let's say if you want to buy a 2-bedroom apartment in prime downtown buildings, it's going to cost you 4.5, maybe 5 million at the most, right?
Dirhams you're talking about now.
Dirhams, right? And a 5 or 6% rental yield on that is 250,000, let's say. So landlords that buy these buildings would expect that high rental yields, like how the agents promise them. But at the same time, we cannot expect the price to stay at 5 million and the long-term rent dropping to like 180 or 170.
That doesn't make sense. You're absolutely right.
Exactly.
Although I think, I'm not into buying and selling, but for me, the sensible thing would be to say that you buy in these prime areas, like a downtown, for appreciation and not for
rental yields.
Not for rental yields.
Yeah. For
rental yields, you go to the B areas, right? So that's at least how I would approach it.
Exactly.
But you say it makes sense, right? If a landlord is sold a unit with an idea of you're going to make 5%, 6%, maybe even 7%, then the expectation is going to be that you're going to pay 250 or more for a 2-bedroom in downtown.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Yeah, I have a strong opinion, but like in the other way, which is that I do believe that long-term prices will be going down. And that is just based on the conversations we've been having with agents. I think over the winter period, there were a lot of like people who were getting excited about getting into the market and they were just trying to pick up units left, right, and center. And I think from the winter period, we're already seeing like a decrease in the long-term rent compared to like winter and today. And definitely there are a lot of units coming in. Today, the units that are coming in, we are just seeing the units that will launch in 2021. In 21, there were, I think, maybe around 70,000 units launched. In 22, there were almost 100,000 units. 23, there were 130 or 140,000 units. And 24, there were 180,000 units launched as new projects. So we are just seeing the wave of like, I think in 2020, it was 40,000. So we are just seeing the initial wave of units coming in.
Yes.
I think at the end of it, right now, a lot of landlords are holding their price. But if you actually look at DXP Interact, like the number of transactions for long-term rentals are definitely going down. So
Right.
I think definitely depending on the building, I think building to building is also very different. So not every place is going to go down, but not every place is going to be able to maintain the same rate. So I think we are getting to a stage where we are not at that overpaying stage as much anymore. And I think it will soon start
Very good.
becoming a bit
So
normal.
that basically means that the market is competitive, but there is a lot of room for growth. So
Yeah.
new hosts can still basically start a business as long as they follow the right track, calculate the right numbers, pick the right buildings, and I think above all are patient.
Yeah.
And don't want to rush into a deal. Correct.
Yeah, I think patience is like the biggest thing in this market because any unit that comes onto the market, it will be gone in a couple of weeks or a month. That's just a fact about Dubai market. So you can't get carried away by that agent who's telling you, it's going to be gone because there will be another unit that comes. So, for example, we wanted like a 3-bed in downtown for a very long time. All of the rents, were around like 300, 320, and we were like, patiently waiting. And then we got a good deal at like 250, and we're like, okay, this is the time. We immediately like snapped it up.
Yes.
So I think having that patience and waiting for the right deal to fall in your lap is very important.
Definitely. I think you don't want to just rush into a kind of fear of loss, motivated decision on the spot. But once you get the right opportunity, you have to capture it. I agree. So guys, 12 months in, 1 year exactly, today, which is a great milestone. What do you wish that you knew 12 months and a day ago that you've learned now in your journey?
That's an interesting question. I think having access to all the technology that we do today, if we knew that 12 months ago, which is honestly 1 year, you learn a lot in the business. But I think, if you had to start off with that kind of plan and the operations, if we can put our thoughts into action with the way that we did right now, it would have been a lot more effective. But yeah, I think
And you mean that with technology, you mean your software tools that you use,
that's right.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's and which softwares do you use? Which programs do you use? Like the top 5, basically.
Yeah, I think so. For our PMS, which is our property management software, we
Yeah.
use HostAway.
Mm-hmm.
For pricing, we use Price Labs.
Yeah.
Right. We also use a few automations. We would also like to use a few that we're currently looking into.
Very good.
But yeah, I think even the smart locks, right? Something as simple as a smart locks. We initially made a mistake when we started off by purchasing too many smart locks that weren't as effective. I'm not going to give away the names, but I think there were a lot of sunk costs in our business in this first year. We were actually just putting an Excel down together
Yeah.
to just understand where we.
Don't do that too much. They want what you I mean, it's good in a way to
Yeah,
to
I
see
think
where
it
you
helps
lost
us
money actually. Yeah.
Exactly. It helps us understand, exactly the question that you asked us,
Yeah.
like what we could have done better,
Yeah, it's actually
what we
good,
can
yeah.
prevent in the
I like
next
that.
year.
Yeah.
So just a list of all the sunk costs. It was something as simple as even the office rent. I
Yeah.
think we it was a smaller amount. I think around 5,500. But we got a virtual office to start off with. It seemed a bit
Yeah. Dodgy.
suspicious, dodgy. So we wanted to avoid that. We wanted it to be, a physical office. And I think, when you're doing business in a city like Dubai, you want to make sure that you're always compliant.
Yes.
Right.
Very
You don't want to take any risks. You don't want to cut corners. And I think, when putting down that Excel of sunk costs, that's what we realized. And at the end of the
Yeah.
day, it's always worth paying a bit more just to make sure that you're always on the right track,
And that you sleep
Yeah.
well at night, basically.
Definitely.
essentially.
Yeah. Pranay, would you give the same answer, or is there another lesson that you've learned that you wish you knew 12
Yeah.
months?
I'd say this goes back to like our first deal. Knowing how to read a title deed is very important. This was like the very first unit we rented.
The title deed is a
And-
document that
yeah.
the owner has that proves that they are the
That
owner
they
of
are
the
the
actual
owner.
unit, right?
Correct.
But what do you want to know? What did you wish
So
you know about?
yeah. So
Reading a title deed.
we signed the deal. We got the apartment ready. We and then we go to apply for a DTCM license, and it says this unit is not permissible to be used on DTCM. And it turns out that it was actually marked as a hotel apartment instead of an apartment.
Yes.
And so just for that simple thing, we had to wait for the owner to be able to go through and like change the entire thing with Demarc. And Demarc, if you know, is not the easiest company to work with, especially when you want to change something like a title deed.
Yeah.
So that took nearly 2.5 months.
Yeah.
And, so at the end of it, we landed up losing most of that. We landed up splitting it with the owner,
Yeah.
but it really wasn't our fault in the sense that like the agent that we did use for this place, she apparently has an exclusive of the whole building. She told us she's worked with multiple holiday homes in the past.
Yeah.
And because of her specialty, she even charges 8% brokerage instead of 5%, which is one of the mistakes.
commission
But
for the agent. Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And we went along. We were a bit naive, and we were like, okay, first deal, she seems legitimate. Like let's go ahead.
Yeah.
And so we just went purely just on her word instead of putting that little bit more research.
Yeah.
So that effectively landed up costing us maybe a month and a half of rent
And a headache.
and a headache.
Right? The
Yeah.
hassle. People will like underestimate energy waste, right? Because
Yeah.
you're dealing with this
It was
situation.
stressful.
Yeah, the stress.
Stressful.
Like
Yeah.
the stress, it takes your energy away from growth, right? So not only did it cost you like a month and a half of rent, basically, it could cost you more because it's opportunity cost, like that energy and
Right.
time you can spend somewhere else that can generate you money or give you growth.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Just by not knowing the thing on the title deed, that's
Yeah.
What's also interesting, you guys joined the B&B in Dubai community quite early. When the community was just like pretty small still. How did you guys experience that? I mean, like, how did the community help you in your journey?
I think the most important thing was just being able to understand different market insights from other hosts and experienced hosts as well, right? It's good to know when you have other people starting the same journey at a similar time as you.
Yeah.
Attending all those weekly meetings was really insightful for us to understand mistakes as well as the good deals that people were making.
Yeah.
Even when it comes to compliance. So it was very helpful in terms of, getting started in the right manner. Like you said, it's super important for newer hosts to get things right if they're going to decide to, jump the gun and start this business.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the B&B community was very helpful in terms of just helping people get streamlined when it comes to starting off this business.
Great. Cool. Would you say
Yeah.
the same? Yeah.
Yeah, I think the weekly meetings were definitely very helpful. Just to be able to go somewhere where everyone knows, like if you have a problem, everyone knows what you're facing. It's not like you have to start from the very basic, I'm in this business, what is holiday homes, etc. You know, so that was very good to be able to talk to all of these people who may be going through similar issues, may have already faced this issue in the past, and are in the same industry. And also speaking to you because obviously you had 1 year of experience before, as well. So got to learn a lot from that. So I think that really gave us a good footing to be able to start. And then I think what you did with evolving the BNB community has also been good, because I think after a certain point, once you reach a certain stage, now the basics, right? So I think that move that you made, where you made it with the more advanced hosts, or the ones who are actually scaling at a higher level, having a meeting with those people, I think is a good step that you've made, because we can interact with people who are going through situations more similar to us, like issues with growing from 20 to 30 units. Like, how does that affect your operations? What your team should look like? How you should price going into let's say for example March, because of the conversations we all had in the group, we were able to price in a good manner for March, where we were able to achieve a high occupancy.
Definitely.
So
yeah, makes sense. Thanks for saying that. I mean, if I look back at when I started, there was nothing available online, exactly 2 years ago and a few days, I started my journey.
Yeah.
And I had to figure it all out by myself, which was such a headache. I just questioned, like, why is there no place in Dubai where I can get all information and connect with other Airbnb or holiday home companies, hosts, and you know, that's it's too much of a headache. That's when I started the community, and it was just an idea, but then it ended up being something really useful for a lot of people, and also for and by members of the community, because you guys also contribute a lot. Like in these calls, you share also what you have been experiencing in the last week. The problems or the opportunities that you encounter. We share that with each other, and true. Like at the start, like most of the people, almost everybody wanted to start or had 0 or 1 unit. So that's fine, right? That's where the community is initially like created for. But at some point, if you have like 5 units, 10 units, 20 units, maybe even 30 units, or community members with close to 40 units right now, you don't want to talk about like the absolute basics, like do I need a permit or what is an ejari or you know, like those things, right? So that's why I split it up between like the scale up and the kickstart group. I have a little game that I want to play with you guys. I have a few questions in my phone, and they are the start of a sentence. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the start of the sentence, and you're going to finish it. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So okay, I'm going to start with you, Hreshan.
Sure.
The weirdest thing I've ever found in an Airbnb after checkout was.
Probably a used box of condoms.
Yeah, it happens. Yeah. Man. Sometimes I really feel for the housekeeping team.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Whatever they find is.
It's something that can surprise a lot of people, and something that people may not be surprised by.
Yep.
You know,
What
same
to
time.
Next question for you, Pranay. The fastest way to ruin your Airbnb business is by.
I think it's just going to be in terms of the rent that you like, just taking any apartment just for the sake of taking an apartment. Like, for example, taking a 2-bedroom. I know someone who took a 2-bedroom just because it was a just building, but they took it for 320,000 dirhams. And it's like, if you love burning money, great. But like, I wish you the best. But like, you know, just even breaking even is tough at that point.
So do your research. Without
Do
doing
your research. Yeah.
yes.
Not managing your cash flows, I think. More important.
that
Not
is
managing your
big.
cash flow.
Yeah.
I think that's a very nice.
That's very big. Yeah.
Way to summarize what can go wrong on the money end
Yeah.
running a subleasing business. Next question. If you want 5-star reviews, you should never, ever, ever.
Putting us on the spot here, Redeet.
I know. That's the idea.
I think, let me put it this way. If you want 5-star reviews, I think you should have an in-person interaction. It's something that accelerates your conversion rate for getting guests to leave you 5-star reviews. Something that you should never do is probably ask for them too much, especially if it's not worth it.
Ask, and then you mean for the review?
I think consistently asking guests to leave reviews can piss them off at sometimes. I feel like a guest will leave you a 5-star review when they think when you deserve it. Sure, it's important to leave a reminder, but it's more important to make sure that they've had that 5-star experience.
Yeah. So focus on the quality and personal touch.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Cool. One more. If I could ban one type of guest behavior forever, it would be
Checking into the apartment at 3 a.m.
Oh man, that's so annoying. Yeah, that's.
I would say ban late checkouts.
Oh yeah, not checking out on time. That's even worse.
Checking
Yeah,
out on
true.
That's horrible. Like, man, I've had someone who just like kept sleeping like in the apartment, and my team was like completely like confused
Yeah.
what to do. And the guy
Tell us about it.
slept, and my team entered the apartment at some point because like 1 p.m., 2 p.m. the guy slept, and he didn't like. We think let's check if he's alive, right? Opened the apartment and went into knocked the bedroom door, opened the bedroom. The guy was snoring, like just loudly snoring, and we woke him up, like, sir, it's time.
Yeah.
You're like, huh? And he
That's
just
hilarious.
kept on sleeping. It's crazy. Okay, one more. One thing I never do anymore after hosting 18 Airbnbs is
Sign bad deals.
Yeah.
good one.
Yeah. I think it's super important for you to be aware about the market. More importantly, also be present in the market in Dubai before signing any kind of rental deal. As Pranay said, you win at your acquisition price.
Yeah,
And if you're not familiar with the market or if you don't know what's going on,
yeah,
you can make that mistake by rushing yourself into this business,
Yeah.
which can cause you great harm, especially if you're constrained on the capital.
makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense. Makes a lot of sense. So you do want to just make sure that you know the numbers, know the data up front before you start, and just get over enthusiastic and put your signature
Yeah.
under something and fall into the trap.
Yeah, I have a different one though.
Yeah.
Mine would be never leave another host a 1-star review if I ever stay in an Airbnb. we know how much it hurts, right? Like that 1-star review can just like, just hurt you so much because it affects your whole rating. So
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'd rather just have a conversation with him, explain to him everything he did wrong, and be like, you got to fix this, probably refund me something, but like I won't
Yeah.
leave him like that review, like, because I'll just hurt the business too much.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we know how it feels, right? And even like
Yeah.
a 4-star review.
Oh, yeah.
Like a 4-star review is like it's like, no, come on, don't do this. Just forget. Don't give me the 4-star review.
You rather not.
Yeah,
leave
Yeah,
at that point.
exactly.
The apartment was excellent, great service, 4-star.
4-star, yeah,
What do
exactly.
you mean? it's super annoying. So that is actually funny. I had a conversation recently with someone about like 1-star reviews on another platform, like Google or something, right? So as an Airbnb host, like a 1-star review, like hurts your soul. So even if in our case, I mean that was a different situation, but in our case, like hosting guests and understanding that we can make mistakes doing that helps, like having some empathy also for other hosts doing the same, right?
Yeah.
And the tricky part here is for us as we scale that we are not in control of everything anymore. Right, so we're not there by ourselves. We're not there to check in the guests. We're not there to check every apartment. We're not there to check if there's hair left under the bed or something, and then it still happens. What to do? So
Yeah.
I had an interesting question to ask you actually. So most of your apartments now, are they mainly in downtown or are you pretty scattered across Dubai?
fully in downtown, almost fully in downtown. I have a few apartments in a few other areas, but
Yeah.
like 95% of my portfolio is in downtown.
And what would you say are the top 3 or maybe top 5 demographics of guests that you've been getting?
We have quite a lot of guests from the region, so Saudi.
Yeah.
A lot of guests from Saudi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And locals also, because of the nature of our apartments. It's liked by a lot of GCC nationals how we furnish our apartments and the locations. So that's definitely GCC is the largest portion of my guests, but all over the world, honestly, from India to the Netherlands to wherever, right? All over the world, guests come to Dubai, and it also matters like when, because Dubai is such a safe, great place that even if there's tension somewhere else in the world, you will see people come here, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
during, without getting into details, but if one country has an issue, then you will see a lot of people come to Dubai and stay in one of our apartments. Guys, as a final one, what would be your like number one advice right now for someone who's watching this podcast and thinks about starting their own Airbnb business?
I would say just understand your level of commitment that you're going to be able to give. Because whether you're going to be able to do it personally, whether you need to hire a team, I think that is very important to understand. And then based on that decision, understand your cash flow, to predict or not predict, but just have a balance ready for worst case circumstances, because you don't know what they're going to be or how they're going to come about, but they do come about and it comes about ever so often. So you just have to be prepared for anything at all. and decide very early on like what your level of commitment is going to be and what it's going to be in the future, so you can build your team or plan to do it yourself accordingly from the very start.
Makes sense. Good advice. And what about you?
Yeah, I think Pranay put that very well together, but I think you also have to be super passionate about it. We're not only doing this because it's just a ROI or a numbers game.
Yeah.
That's not how most businesses are successful, but it's more about the passion. And I think that relates to the level of commitment. But we love to travel. We love staying in nice places. And I think that's what fueled this idea apart from just the numbers itself.
Love
Yeah.
what you do.
So
Basically.
definitely be passionate about
So
starting
actually,
this.
just one more thing to add on to that, like what our company motto has been is that we don't just take any apartment. So we've actually had a lot of landlords reach out to us where, we've either said no to their apartment because of it being an old building, not having the right view, or maybe even saying no to the apartment because they have the right view and the right building, but the apartment itself is not at the right place and they're not ready to put money into it. So for us, that has been very important. And that I think is a big reason how we've been able to maintain the superhost status is by ensuring, number one, it has a great view. It is a good building. It's not like a very old building with like a lot of maintenance issues. And we are able to give the guest the type of stay where we would also want to go and stay.
That's
right?
a good one. That's a
Yeah.
very good one. Love what you do. Be proud of what you do, and also represent your product. Be proud of your product.
Absolutely.
Guys, we're gonna wrap up. Thank you so much for being here. Pranay, thank you for like flying to Dubai
Yeah.
for this podcast, even though you had like all these struggles to get here.
Oh, yeah.
You're here, and I'm very happy with that. I very much appreciate it.
Thank you, Redeet.
Thank you for
It's
having us. Yeah.
I wish you a lot of good luck scaling your business. I'm pretty sure that you guys will double the business over the next less than a year, and we'll definitely do another podcast then.
100%.
Definitely.
Good luck to you
Thank
as well.
you.
Thank you,
Thanks.
guys.
Yeah, good luck to you.